Welcome to the I Hate Critics Movie Review Podcast. I'm professional film critic Sean Patrick. With me is Jeff.
Howdy, rowdy.
Where do we get your art, Jeff?
Jefflasser.com if you're not in the Quad Cities. But if you're in the Quad Cities, this weekend, Saturday at the Rock Island County Fairgrounds is the Quad City Toy Show, which happens a couple times a year. And I will be there selling my art, selling some vintage Halloween, and probably some Star Wars stuff. And if you're a wrestling fan, an old school wrestling fan, Brutus the Barber Beefcake is going to be there. So come and see that. I hope all my wrestling fan friends can see that. So
Yes, indeed. Brutus the Barber Beefcake, aka the Zodiac, aka aka he was Hulk Hogan's brother. He had like 7 different gimmicks. It was bizarre. One of his gimmicks was just him saying yes, 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 no, 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 over and over. That's all he did. And he wore black and white face paint and a mohawk.
maybe I'll make that my personality on the show. I'll just say yes and no to everything.
Yeah, and they called him the Zodiac. Make it make sense. He was also called
Ted Cruz was the Zodiac.
He was also called the Booty Man, which is a good nickname as well.
That's also my nickname, so I guess.
All right, the joking's over. We got to talk about something serious, and that is, of course, the passing of Roger Corman. And the last thing he'd want is for us to take this seriously, but Roger Corman did pass away, and it is incredibly notable. If not for the movies, which are of an often dubious quality, his impact on film history is through maybe the ultimate directorial coaching tree in history. Because the careers that this man launched by just giving them a few bucks and a camera, it's unending. I mean, you start with like everybody, Scorsese, Spielberg. I mean, just where does it end?
James Cameron,
Ron Howard, all directed for Roger Corman movies. That's crazy.
The man was. He's like the godfather of Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he prolific and so willing to give anybody a chance. There's no story out there from anybody about this man that's negative.
Unless you're Paul Schrader.
Well, Paul Schrader is
he hates everybody, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Unless they're girls who are 40 years younger than him, but nevertheless, that aside. No, it's amazing. And if you haven't seen it, there's a documentary called Corman's World, came out in 2012. Mm-hmm. It is the ultimate compendium of his career and just charting the way that he influenced Hollywood. I mean, the fact of the matter is that Hollywood followed Roger Corman. After Jaws came out and made money, Hollywood started going, hey, that Corman guy, he knows what he's doing over there making those low-budget monster movies. We need to start doing that.
Yeah. And then he came out with Piranha.
And it made big money and launched a big career. I'm saying, but Hollywood saw that and started to replicate that in many ways.
Mm-hmm. Arguably, Piranha launched the fear of actual piranhas in any body of water that Gen X has to this day. Probably quicksand too. I thought quicksand was going to be a much bigger deal when I grew up, and piranhas.
Considering how often we saw it on TV and movies, yeah, it is bizarre how minor that fear became. Indeed, not at all.
Can't think of a show from the 70s or 80s that didn't have quicksand.
Fucking Gilligan's Island had quicksand.
Yes. Do you remember, maybe you'll remember this, although I'm a few years older than you, there was a show called Cliffhanger.
Oh yeah, I just learned about that movie, yeah. A show.
Well, yeah, it was like basically it was 3 movies that they chopped up. And I think it was Susan Anton played a reporter or something. And I distinctly remember her, this was after the movie Piranha came out, distinctly remember her hanging from a branch or a bridge or something while piranha tried to bite her feet. And that the only thing that fucked me up more than that as a kid was the blind school burning down on Little House on the Prairie.
Oh wow.
So yeah, that led to a lifetime fear of like dying in a fire or all my stuff going up in a fire. So
Yeah, it's bizarre. There was a bizarre title to her show too, that her part of Cliffhanger had its own title, and it was very, very funny. I'm trying to find it and I can't, but god damn, it was so fucking funny. It was, oh yes, it was called Stop Susan Williams. That's what the show was called. And it was about her as a crusading reporter and the people trying to stop her from crusading.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, yeah, that's a weird memory. I never even saw the show. I only saw the opening music for it in a compilation on YouTube, but damned if it wasn't hilarious.
Yeah, it was. I, my dad and my sisters and my sister and brother and I, we would watch that. I think it was Friday nights or something. And my mom was at work because she worked for your dad actually, and so we watched a lot of TV together, and that was one of the things that I distinctly remember.
Yeah, that's
was her and the product.
It's a weird tangent, but it fits with Roger Corman, who is all weird tangents when you look back on that career. Of
And that
course,
show actually also featured Alex Hyde White, who has a very, very distinct Roger Corman connection. Do you know what he was in that Roger Corman made?
no.
He was in the Fantastic Four movie that Roger Corman made to keep the rights. It was never supposed to see the light of day.
Mm.
Unfortunately, it did. I think Jay Underwood was was the Human Torch. I think it was 1994 when it came out, and he played Reed Richards. It was just
1994 when it didn't come out.
When it didn't come out, yeah. But they had to make this to keep the rights.
Mm-hmm.
You know how I think if you're listening to this show, you probably know that a lot of the Hellraiser sequels were made to keep the rights with a certain company. But yeah, Roger Corman made the Fantastic Four with, quite honestly, in my opinion, as a huge fan of Thing, probably one of the better looking Thing creature designs that has been put on film.
I mean, I've seen all the Fantastic Four movies, and I think it's the best one.
Yeah. Doctor Doom looks like
that's
Dr.
only
Doom
kind of
like.
facetious, honestly. Because if you saw Josh Trank's movie, my God, Corman did it better. He did it better.
He did. He really did. It's on YouTube. You should see it. Just the fact that he did stuff like that. He would make movies for like $500 in 3 days, and he made Little Shop of Horrors.
Never any illusions about having talent for making movies. Like, he didn't pretend that making movies was an art form for him. It was a money making scheme for him. But that honesty is what makes his movies so charming. It's that he's completely straight with you. I am here to take your money, and I'm going to give you this exploitation thing in exchange for your ticket price. And yeah, we're all just kind of going for that.
And he gave so many people their chances that he ended up being in so many things.
Mm-hmm.
He played the FBI director in The Silence of the Lambs. He was he was just in something that he's just been in so many things that like Apollo 13, he was a congressman, just so many things that were kind of paybacks for him being who he was.
Mm-hmm. Without Roger Corman, there's no Jack Nicholson.
No.
Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper don't make Easy Rider without him first having gotten Peter Fonda to make the trip.
Yeah. as things as he would make like Jurassic Park. You guys reviewed Carnosaur.
Yes,
That was a
Carnosaur's
Roger
awful.
Corman movie.
So awful. It's a terrible film.
Just awful. So,
But again, there again, here he is influencing Hollywood because people go on to do exactly they rip off his brand and keep making those movies over and over again. Just constantly inventing genres that didn't exist before him. Yeah, he'll be missed. I mean, that's an influence. That is an influence on Hollywood that people don't quite fully comprehend.
Yeah. The game 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Mm-hmm.
You could play 3 Degrees of Roger Corman with just about anybody in Hollywood.
Very true. Very true.
Even if you've just picked his acting.
Yeah.
So.
R.I.P. Roger Corman. That was it's quite remarkable. All right. The meat of the episode is all about apes. We're talking every Planet of the Apes movie, and an insane effort on both of our parts to try and watch as many Planet of the Apes movies as possible. We've watched. I watched most of them. You watched most of them. We've both seen them all in the past, so we're well up on this franchise. So we'll just start in 1968. We're going to go in release order talking about this tonight. So we'll start off with Planet of the Apes. Co-written by Rod Serling, directed by Franklin J. Schaffner, and starring the hero of the hippie movement and that progressive thinker Charlton Heston.
Out of my cold dead hands.
Don't trust anybody over 40. He was 46 when he said that. With so much conviction. The plot. Taylor and a group of astronauts land on a planet that they think is a alien planet. There they discover a human species that can't talk. They're surrounded by dominant apes who take him into custody. Assume he's one of the humans that can't talk because they've shot him in the neck and he can't speak. He recovers his chance to speak and thus begins to upend the ape society, much to the chagrin of Dr. Zaius. It's a really solid story, actually, and Franklin J. Schaffner does a great job, crafting this very kind of low budget idea. You've got a Charlton Heston here who is at kind of this low point in his career where he's not the leading man he was. He's not getting the offers that he was getting from mainstream Hollywood, and he gets this offer to be in this movie, and he takes it. He jumps at it because he needs the money, he needs the exposure, and it turns into a hit with kind of a surprising one because it's really not the Charlton Heston that people had thought of before. It's certainly a departure for him in terms of what we know of him politically, because this is an extraordinarily progressive film with big progressive ideas behind it, and that's certainly not how we view Charlton Heston.
Yeah, I think a lot of that. I don't know if you've ever read the original source book.
Yeah, Pierre Boulez. It's like more of a social satire than it is a sci-fi.
Yeah.
Stuff.
And between that and Rod Serling, I think that's where it becomes pretty progressive. Just telling a very simple story, really, when you get down to it. One of the things, though, that struck me this time watching it, and this is a hot take, Charlton Heston is a good actor.
In this movie, let's be clear. Maybe in this movie, he's not a very good actor. I think you could point to plenty of things he did in the past where he was quite good.
He was serviceable in everything I've seen him in.
He comes from a school of acting that is not prominent anymore. Because in the time that he was coming up, stage actors were moving to Hollywood and getting big roles, and they were still learning to act in front of a camera. So you've got guys like him and Kirk Douglas, Anthony Quinn, who are just constantly belting everything to the back of the room. It's a different style of acting. And when that class was coming forward and becoming actors, that style made sense to them. It didn't make sense to the people who were coming up in movies who were like, you don't need to yell every line to the back of the room. You don't need to emote so that someone in the back row can see you. And that acting class changed in the late 1960s, just as Heston was falling out of favor. So I do think he's a good actor. I just think he's out of time by the time this movie comes out.
Oh, for sure, literally and figuratively. Um, do you think that this movie would have spawned all of the sequels and the reboots and remakes and everything if it hadn't had the twist ending?
No, I think the twist ending is important. I think it's a big aspect of it. I do think there is enough here in terms of like, I do think that Franklin J. Schaffner did a great job crafting, the sets. I thought the costumes are iconic, and they would have been, I think, regardless. But yeah, the twist ending definitely is I think it's the sticky part of the Planet of the Apes, if you will.
Okay, because I was when I was watching it, I'm like, I wonder, based on the story itself, I think it was a good, solid attempt to build something. You know what I'm like, as far as the world was built really well. The situation was really good. But I didn't see what a sequel could be. The first time I saw this, and I saw this when I was a kid, and I did not know that there were a bunch of them. I just thought there was a TV show. With that being said, I think that twist seared it into everybody's memory.
Yeah,
so I
fair.
think that made it, that is what kind of was the catalyst, because it was such a hit and such a word of mouth hit, especially.
It was also at a time pre-internet where people couldn't just go online and spoil what you're about to see either, so that had to help too. I really like this movie. I've always really liked this movie. I've always really appreciated what it's going for. And yes, the metaphoric aspects are relatively obvious and kind of not subtle, I would say. But I think when it came to a guy like Franklin J. Schaffner, I think he was trying to make a movie that was very obvious. And I think Rod Serling was trying not to make a movie that was so very, very obvious, but was also acquiescing to a director here. And that's how you get this sort of compromised, very obviousness of the metaphors and kind of the broad stylings of the acting versus what Rod Serling is going for, which is still quite smart. And I think what truly grounds the best aspects of this movie.
Yeah, I think you're right. Excuse me. Really, it's solid from start to finish, and I think that that is the director, because this could have been a really like unintentional comedy.
Oh, very much so. I mean that goes. I mean, every Apes parody that since then has shown just how truly bad this could go. Tim Burton's going to show us exactly how bad this could go later on, but we'll get there.
This could have been Roger Corman's Fantastic Four.
It very well could have been. That it's not that, and it is cohesive. It's tight. I think for us, today, what we know of Charlton Heston makes him seem very much like he is not of this movie. There's a very much like the Steve Buscemi meme of approaching
hello,
yes, hello, fellow young people.
Poor Steve Buscemi.
That's a great meme. He needs to be proud of that.
No, I just mean poor him because he got beat up on the street the other day.
Oh, I heard about that. That was dumb. Yeah, that was awful. Don't touch Steve Buscemi.
Yes.
And Rick Moranis too. What's that about? Why are you attacking people we love? No, but I think he seems so incongruous now because I think at one point he might have been kind of a progressive liberal who became this hardcore right-wing guy. And also you've got him play like he just doesn't, he's in his 40s, so he doesn't feel like he belongs anywhere near anything counterculture. And this is a very counterculture idea.
Yeah.
Especially that line I keep going back to. Don't trust anybody over 30 or whatever it is that he says.
30. It was 30.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
30.
Yeah.
Don't trust anybody over 30. Dude, you're 46. So don't trust you? I'm supposed to just ignore you?
Yep.
It just doesn't sound right coming out of him. None of the way he antagonizes Landon, the other astronaut early on,
Mm-hmm.
he's
Yeah.
this big, like he's the progressive thinker and Landon's not. I don't know. Landon in the character is very thin, so we don't really know much about even why he's deciding to antagonize him at this point.
Yeah. Literally, Taylor is the only human character that has any sort of agency or characterization.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, the poor black pilot. I don't even think he gets name checked in the movie.
not in the movie. I think he's got a name in the credits, but not in the movie.
Yeah, he's just running out ahead of them. They won't even be in the same line of sight with him for part of the film because he's running so far ahead of them. But even worse is that poor female pilot who just dies immediately. But the way they talk about what she was there for, she was going to be the Eve of this atom of. There's like 3 guys and 1 woman for this. Like, what was she supposed to be doing on this flight if she survived? She was just going to be like a baby maker for these 3 dudes.
Yep.
That's messed up. That doesn't get talked about much. That part gets left out a lot of retrospectives on Planet of the Apes.
And you got to wonder, I mean, based on the fact that it's just 3 guys and they don't know if there's any other beings on this planet, like, were they going to take her out and put her in the water and like make her wet again? I mean, not that way, but just use her as like a sex doll or something. I don't know.
She should definitely be choosing the bear. That's all I'm saying. She's choosing the bear. If she survived, she would have chose the bear. She would have chose the apes. But no, I think we both agree this is a good movie.
Oh yeah, yeah.
All right.
My second favorite.
Second favorite. Okay.
We'll get there.
So you like Beneath the Planet of the Apes more? I'm kidding.
Nobody likes that more than anything.
Beneath the Planet of the Apes is the sequel to Planet of the Apes from 1970, directed by Ted Post, and no Rod Serling on this one. It's written by Paul Dean. James Franciscus taking over in the lead role this time as Taylor. He's gone there to search for Taylor. Taylor survives the first film and goes off on his own. We don't know where he is for part of the movie. James Franciscus as Brent shows up and encounters Kim Hunter as Zira and Maurice Evans as Dr. Zaius, and goes looking for Taylor, and eventually he'll find him. And what we get is this, we find out that there are more humans on this planet. They've just been living underground and worshiping a giant nuclear bomb.
I'm sorry. Keep going.
That's pretty much all of the plot description I'm going to give here.
Okay. Oh, God. So I rewatched this one again today, and it was like, I forgot. It has been 5-6 years since I bought the box set and went, maybe even longer.
One of the best box sets ever, by the way.
Yes, very much so. And this one was rough. It is basically, until the last act, just kind of a remake of the first one. They kind of just took what they liked from the first one and let's do that again. Let's put a blonde astronaut in a loincloth and go.
Yeah, I mean, it just pretty much hits all the same beats. It does pick up the story. We do see Charlton Heston again, which he definitely didn't want to be here. He definitely did not want to make this sequel, but they got him back. And I think his condition was on making this movie that he had to die. He's like Harrison Ford in the first Star Wars sequel. Like, just get me the fuck out of here. I'll come back, but you got to kill me right now. Get that done. Heston the same way, but seemingly he kills everyone at the end of this. The big twist is that nuclear bomb works and he blows up the
Mhm.
planet.
Yep. And they even say at the end of that movie, the planet is dead. So how do we have 5 more movies?
How do we have a far better sequel to this? That's what I want to understand. Like, it doesn't make any sense. First of all, how did you make a sequel? Second of all, how is this so much better?
Yeah.
So, of course, we're talking
Yeah.
about 1971's Escape from the Planet of the Apes. Apparently, they didn't know that Beneath the Planet of the Apes was going to be a big hit. They really,
Mhm.
really underestimated how much people liked the first Planet of the Apes and were forgiving of the second. Uh, so they made a third, which picks up in the most just ridiculous, incongruous way. Somehow, off screen, a character we've never met before has managed to repair a ship that was clearly destroyed in the first film. And, Taylor's ship is restored by the apes, and we get this guy Milo, along with our two main characters, the ones we actually remember and recognize, Zira and Dr. Cornelius, Roddy McDowell and Kim Hunter, have gone into the past and have arrived on Earth in the 1970s.
When I tell you this is my favorite one, that is why, because it is so fucking ridiculous. And it's the fish out of water
Mm-hmm.
where they just lean into it. That it is my favorite of the original movies.
It embraces silliness in a great way, without
Yeah.
losing these two characters who are quite serious about themselves and who they are, in Roddy McDowell and Kim Hunter. We don't get enough of Milo. I wanted more of Dr. Milo. I wanted his backstory. I wanted him to be part of this story. He gets killed very quickly. As just a purely functional character. He's just there to have fixed the ship, kind of explained to Cornelius and Zira how they got there, and then boom, gone. Because if he'd stuck around, he might be able to explain too much to the humans.
Exactly. And I love Sal Mineo. I'm just sad that he was just killed.
Yeah,
Stupid gorilla.
I barely even noticed that he was there.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know it because he's under so much makeup. You wouldn't even know it was there.
Exactly. Exactly.
But we get these great montages where the apes are finally sort of welcomed to Earth in California. They get to put on 70s clothes and live in a nice hotel for a while and just be kind of ape celebrities for a little bit until we find out that Zira is pregnant, and that's when the plot kicks into a slightly more serious mode in which the apes have to escape from a crusading scientist.
Yes. Can apes get fetal alcohol syndrome? Because she was drinking a lot of that grape juice plus when she was pregnant.
Grape juice plus, yeah. That was she got drunk off of a glass, so maybe just like one or two glasses. She was knocked out. I think maybe she didn't get enough of it to make it too bad.
Yeah.
You've got Eric Braeden here as the bad guy, Dr. Otto Hasslein, and he's the weakest part of the movie. He, in terms of just how he's written, the screenwriter Paul Dane obviously didn't think he was going to be writing a sequel. And he's got to come up with something. I think he had to turn this around in like 3 or 4 months after after Beneath came out and was a massive hit. They're like, oh shit, we blew up the planet. How are we going to do this? They gave him a couple months and, hey, go fix this problem for us. And this is what he came up with. And that, I think the biggest victim of that is Eric Braeden's character, because Dr. Otto Hasslein just is he's a villain who just sort of chooses to be a villain. Like he's a character that they need for this plot. You need a villain to make this work. And he just chooses to say that, well, the apes are going to replace us and they're going to kill us and we've got to kill them first.
And Eric Braeden made a career out of playing a villain on Young and the Restless several years after this. And he had a mustache there. He needed a mustache to twirl in this movie because he was just so dastardly.
It's very funny. Just his villainy is just so complete and just uncompromising. He just
Mm-hmm.
doesn't like the apes from the very start, but then his justification for it is this bizarre notion that it's guaranteed that one day the apes will take over. Like he just doesn't have any idea, how multiverses work or how time travel works. That anything you can do something and change it. I guess that's what
Yeah.
he's trying to do. But I mean, it's still kind of a nonsensical approach on his part, a
Oh,
nonsensical
yeah. I mean,
crusade.
yeah. It's like, well, okay, maybe this is a bad example, but it would be like somebody trying to have the Kardashians killed. They're celebrities and just for being them. So,
They do try to make this. They do try to give it a deeper meaning. Like the president of the United States in the movie asks Hasline, would you go back in time and kill Hitler as a baby if you, which is a question I think they asked on it's a philosophical question. Would you kill a baby if you thought that for sure that baby was going to grow up and be the worst human being ever? And
mhm.
that's a rather simple question. Yes, if I got the chance to kill Hitler as a baby, I would choke the shit out of that baby.
Oh no, smother them. It's less. You don't actually contact; it's smother.
I mean, just is that a really deep philosophical question? I don't know. I don't think so. But then I guess I'm Dr. Hassline in that scenario. Then I guess because like I said, he thinks that if he doesn't kill the apes, they will go on to replace humanity in 300 years, 3,000 years. Excuse me.
Exactly.
Like it's thousands of years in the future that this is going to happen. I need to prevent it now in 1971.
But I just the camp of this.
Yeah, that's the
Kim
aspect that works.
Hunter, yeah, Kim Hunter is the absolute like star of this franchise. The early parts, just the way she just plays it, and she's just so happy to be there. Even though the first movie like really irritated her with the makeup, she has really leaned into it with the later ones, and she's just happy to be there. And
It gets a little easier because they give them masks in the
yeah,
further sequels because they don't have the money to recreate the makeup,
yeah,
which
no,
was
exactly.
incredibly expensive in 1968. It was the biggest outlay, and credit to Franklin J. Schaffner. He insisted on that makeup. He insisted on
Yeah.
getting that makeup right, which is the probably his best contribution overall to the movies. Is that insistence, but at the same time, the sequels then went on to just use rubber masks, and they're okay. They're pretty good rubber masks.
Yeah. I was paying attention in this one to Roddy McDowell a couple times, and it a couple times like his hairline move. Um, it kind of like puckered a little bit when he was talking very excitedly, and I was like, wait a minute, really showing your mask there, Roddy.
But you said it best. I mean, the camp aspects, the pop aspect of it is just there really is some fun to be had here. Just in terms of not taking itself too seriously. That's the sequence where they're trying on clothes is like really one of the best
Oh,
things in they could have possibly done.
when the models are coming out, and she's just like, "Oh, this is so cool!" And I hadn't seen this in a few years, same as the other ones, and I couldn't remember which one she picked, but I picked the one that she picked for her. It's like, yeah, that looks like a '70s housewife.
They're just having a tremendous amount of fun. And then Ricardo Montalban just walks in and just steals the movie for a while. He is having so much fun. He loves this. He loves the camp of it. He's a very silly guy. You can't take him seriously, and God bless him for it.
Like just his hit the Scooby Doo plan of it all to get baby Milo. It's like, oh God, I love it.
Yeah, the movie ends with us realizing that the baby that was killed, Kim Hunter and Roddy McDowell, die first of all, which is kind of shocking. But then their baby had been switched with another ape, a real ape baby, and
Yeah.
Milo will get the chance to grow up and lead the conquest of the planet of the apes. The time jump in this one is just utterly nonsense. Where this one was actually made again 1 year later after the last one, and they time jump it up to 1991 for the setting for this one. Cats and dogs are gone from a plague, and humans have adopted apes because apparently Dr. Hasline didn't reach anybody with his with his warnings. He's like, this movie was made just to mock Otto Hasline. That's what this movie is all about. Because he was right all along.
It's yeah.
If you could take anything away from the Apes franchise, that was Eric Braeden was right the whole time.
Oh, justice for Eric Braeden.
Justice for Eric. We continue now with our conversation about Planet of the Apes with Conquest of the Planet of the Apes.
Conquest.
Directed by J. Lee Thompson, once again written by Paul Dane, who has written wrote the last three of the Apes franchise, bringing a little bit of continuity into this ever-growing low-budget franchise that is slowly declining in quality. Conquest of the Planet of the Apes picks up in 1991. Dogs, cats, gone. Gorillas and orangutans are pets. Apes are slave labor, as they are the seemingly more evolved and able to do more tasks. Into this falls Milo, or now known as Caesar. Why was his name changed to Caesar?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. It's really weird. But yeah, he was Milo. Now he's Caesar. He's reunited with his friend Armando, Ricardo Montalban. And actually, they were never apart. But the story goes...
We're reunited with them.
Huh?
We're reunited.
Yeah, we're reunited with them. Exactly. So basically, Caesar sees a group of apes who are being mistreated. He speaks out. Ricardo Montalban says, no, it wasn't him. It was me who said that. Please deal with me, because we're now dealing with this overarching fascist government that is running things and has created this, slave labor ape society underneath humans and is ruling with an iron fist. Caesar is set to lead the uprising against that fascistic government. And once Ricardo Montalban, Armando, is killed, it becomes sort of a revenge film where he sets out to take vengeance on humanity after losing faith in them, after losing really the only human that he trusted.
Yeah, this is, J. Lee Thompson, he directed Cape Fear, and then he went on to direct one of your favorite movies of all time, 10 to Midnight.
Garbage movie.
It's one of my favorite, bad movies, that and Happy Birthday to Me. So when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, he's directed so much. And I'm like, so badly. Well, this one is actually good. This one, like I said, this is one that I did not get to this time, but I watched it in the past, and I was actually, it was actually kind of interesting to me.
It's interesting. It's it's better than Beneath. I'll give it that. Yeah. It's certainly better than Battle, which we'll get to in a moment. Just from the jump ahead 20 years to having apes that are able to perform these tasks and become the pets of humanity is a bit of a jump. It's a bit of a stretch from where we were with where Milo was, the learning to speak, the last we saw him. This is it's a jump that the previous movie certainly didn't set up.
Yeah, this is it's one of the things that bugged me about it. The first time I saw it was that it looks like a TV movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's the budgets get smaller and smaller and smaller as we go on. And this one really shows it in what should be a, like an epic battle. It just looks like, okay, we got 15 homeless people off the street. We'll just put them in ape masks and they're running around. And, everything seems so contained when it shouldn't.
It really is kind of pathetic in a way. It's kind of like you kind of look at it and go, "Aw,
Yeah.
it's kind of adorable."
It's like what I remember the TV show. This is like an episode of it to me. It's interesting story, but again, and I guess we don't know because the last movie changed the trajectory. We don't even know if Taylor would, go through all the stuff if he would even go to space. Just because they've already said that this is, this is possibly changing everything. So we don't know, in what should have been hundreds, if not thousands of years, we get 20 years and everybody can speak because these two chimpanzees came from the future that could, and now somehow they can all speak.
Yeah, only two apes technically speak, Caesar and a female ape who gets to speak at the very end of the movie. And causes the ending in which Caesar doesn't kill the evil fascist president, Governor Breck, played by Don Murray, the villain of this piece. Another bad villain. This movies are bad at villains because they've got these very obvious metaphors that they're doing, and you got to have a very obvious villain for each of these very obvious metaphors.
I think with like the first one, it didn't really have like one villain.
Mm-hmm.
The apes were the villain, just as a whole.
With Dr. Zaius kind of leading the way as because he is misleading a lot of people.
For him, but I don't think that if Taylor had never landed, I don't think he would have been a villain.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He was just the antagonist. And after that, everybody has it's just devolved.
And part of that is the timetable. I mean, you're writing a movie a year, which is for a very, for what was intended to be a complex, universe, trying to write a script in, a couple months. You're asking a lot of a screenwriter to try and deliver here. And, credit to Paul Dane for delivering what he does deliver, which is a couple of, in each of these, him and the various directors that he's working with do deliver a couple of moments. That moment when Caesar finds out that Armando has died it's good because, Roddy McDowell is great with he's got great eyes. Great eyes. Oh, yeah. He communicates incredibly well with his eyes. And that's
so underrated.
That really, that works. His relationship with McDonald, Harry Rhodes is solid, and they've got a couple of great moments near the end in terms of action scenes and outwitting the baddies to get to where they want to get to. It also keeps up kind of the twist sort of tradition of the Planet of the Apes movies, because they are kind of because again there is a sort of a twist element at the end of each. You've got the first film's got the Statue of Liberty. The second film has the
spoiler
destroying of the planet. The third film has the death of both those people, death of Zero and Cornelius, but also the fact that Milo is alive. And then this one ends with them not with an ape who can speak, another ape opposite Caesar who can speak, and them not killing the president. So there's a twist. The twists are a big part of this. Why hasn't M. Night Shyamalan made a Planet of the Apes movie yet? That's the question.
Because everybody would revile it even if it was really good.
Accurate.
They just hate him. I mean, his movies like The Visit was really good. Mm-hmm. I didn't hate Old, but I know that's because it was based on the comic book. But they just because he made Lady in the fucking Water, everybody fucking hates him. Sorry.
That's all right. We move on now to Battle for the Planet of the Apes, set in what is it, 2004, about 13
Yeah.
years after when the original or when the last film was, and suddenly now all apes can talk in complete sentences without any issue in just 13 years. So
Yeah,
cool.
it's it I just it kind of baffles me that the first one was set 2,000 years ahead of 1968,
Yeah.
because there's not, if that was the case, and you're looking at the timeline of this movie, and really in the 1968 movie, any technology that they're using is just stuff that was available in the 60s. So wouldn't they, if this was the timeline we're going with, wouldn't 2,000 years in the future be so much more advanced?
You would
I don't know.
think, you would assume that would be the case, but you have to remember, Jeff, that the original script for Battle of the Planet of the Apes was written by two people who had never seen a Planet of the Apes movie. So,
Oh, okay, that's a good point.
so they do get Dane back. He wasn't available. Paul Dane wasn't available, so they had to actually replace him with a husband and wife couple. John William Corrington and Joyce Hooper Corrington wrote the screenplay, having never seen a Planet of the Apes movie. Thankfully, they got I think it was Paul Dane or somebody came back who actually had seen them and did do some rewrites on this. But but both the Corringtons maintain that their original ideas are still in this movie. So that might explain why some of this happened.
Yeah. My favorite bit of trivia from this movie is that this is supposedly what inspired Tony Mendez to create Operation Argo during the Iran hostage crisis.
Well, yes,
Where
the makeup artist on this movie was actually part of that
Yeah,
operation. So yeah, there is an element of that. The character that John Goodman plays in Argo is based on a guy who worked on Planet of
mhm.
the Apes.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing about this movie.
Not Claude Akins, not a big Claude Akins fan.
Sheriff Lobo, I love you, and I wish he'd kind of recurred more on Murder She Wrote, but then they got Tom Bosley, and they're like, "Fuck you, Claude Akins." I just picture Angela Lansbury going, "Fuck you, Lobo, get the fuck off my set." Sorry, I'm going off on tangents tonight.
Yeah,
I,
it's a tangent filled
yeah.
episode for sure. This is a bad movie. It's just a bad movie. Like they couldn't get the guy who played McDonald back, so they brought in a new character who was McDonald's brother.
Yeah,
Austin Stoker.
just recast him.
It's really dumb. But you've got Paul Williams, who's probably the best part of the movie.
Hmm.
I don't know if you ever saw it. He actually appeared as his character in Planet of the Apes on the Johnny Carson show, and it's very, very funny.
No.
Yes, that's real. Full
Oh
ape
my god,
makeup and full
now
ape
I gotta watch
mask.
that.
Paul Williams appeared on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson.
Is it as great as Kane Hodder playing Jason on the Arsenio Hall show?
I'm sure it's just as good. Just as good. John Huston is in this movie. What the fuck?
I mean,
John Huston, just the weirdest fucking career ever. Just
yeah,
never turned
agreed.
anything down, never said no to anybody, and remained one of the greatest film directors of all time while doing that. Here he plays the lawgiver in a wraparound sequence that kind of opens the movie and then closes the movie, where the big twist is that humans and apes now live together, though they're still kind of not cool with each other. There's little kids pulling each other's pigtails and whatnot. And then we cut to a picture. We cut to a statue of the legendary Caesar, and a tear falls from the statue's eyes, and I laughed so hard.
Oh Lord.
Come on, that's pretty fucking funny.
I mean, it's
It's very
I'm
fucking
glad this went
silly.
to TV because that was the only possible way they could go. If they made another one of these after that, yeah,
There
I
was
can't
no coming back.
imagine.
There was no coming back from
No.
that. This wraparound sequence, by the way, is set in 2670, which is like what, like 1,000 more years until we get to till actually when the first movie was.
Yeah.
the the timeline on this is just so fucking bizarre.
It's like the Halloween franchise. They can't just make up, you know, one timeline and go with it. No, we got to make up 15 different ones that may or may not.
Well, there's a Halloween multiverse for sure.
Oh yeah.
All right. That's that for the original. What your ranking of those five movies?
Um, my favorite is Escape because of Kim Hunter's performance, and she's just so campy, and it's like an episode of, you know, 70s TV where they're trying on clothes and, you know, the histrionics and everything. That's my favorite. I think the best one is still Planet of the Apes. Um, but Planet of the Apes is my second favorite after Escape. Um, then Conquest, and then it's a toss up for which one is worse between Battle and Beneath because I just no, I just can't.
They're both pretty
I,
terrible.
I yeah, if we were ever to like revisit these again in 10 years, assuming that, you know, we're all still alive and whatever, um, and it was, let's re-rank these. I wouldn't watch those two.
Fair enough.
I just wouldn't.
How do you feel about Tim Burton?
Um, well,
Let's jump ahead to
I will say
2001, Jeff. What do you say?
I I mean, we're doing time jumps all over the fucking franchise. Why not?
2001, Planet of the Apes remake with Tim Burton, who he seems like the kind of person who's never seen a Planet of the Apes movie before. Um, but I guess he has. He's basically sticking to some of the original elements, but I think the biggest problem here is just Mark Wahlberg. I like him, Mark Wahlberg. I think when he has the right director, he's a really great actor. When he worked with Scorsese, when he worked with Russell, like those guys, the guys who have like these visionary kind of directors, he's great at delivering exactly what they want from him. When he's working with a director who isn't telling him what to do constantly, he's utterly useless as an actor. And I don't think he was getting anything from Tim Burton based off of this performance.
Mm.
He plays Leo, who is a scientist on some far off space mission where they've got apes that they're teaching to operate spaceships to go into various different dangerous situations. He's trained this particular ape, Pericles, to fly this ship. Pericles gets called upon to fly into a very dangerous situation, and when they lose sight of him, Mark Wahlberg's Leo goes chasing after him in another ship, and they both end up disappearing. Mark Wahlberg lands somewhere in the future of Earth, where apes are the dominant species and humans can talk and are fine and should be able to negotiate this situation far better than they have. Why can they
First of all, why
talk?
are they on a Trade Federation ship from Star Wars?
Why can the humans in this movie talk? Why? What? Why? Why haven't they tried speaking to the apes about this then talking about this, trying to talk this out?
You know, nothing in this movie makes sense. I I'm gonna say this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give it a very big compliment. The makeup is fan fucking tastic.
Yeah, yeah.
All of the makeup looks great.
Can't say enough about Rick Baker. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just he nails it. That's the only great thing I can say about this movie. Um, Marky Mark is doing the he's giving the same performance he gave in The Happening. he's in that level in this one. Um, eh, I think I think he may have watched the original Planet of the Apes. Tim Burton may have watched the original one with Helena Bonham Carter and said, you know what, just do what Kim Hunter's doing. Be devil's advocate for the humans. And that's all you got to do.
Well, that's not all she's doing. She's also making eyes at Mark Wahlberg and making us all very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
is that hit thing with her and Mark Wahlberg and Estella Warren supposed to be like a love triangle? Because that's really fucked up.
I know in one of the I think it was Beneath, they were going to have a human ape hybrid baby.
Yeah, and they just cut that because it was just too horrifying.
Yeah, I'm pretty like sure that they were going to do that here too. So
It's just so weird because I don't think Mark Wahlberg knows it's happening. Whereas Helena Bonham Carter, it's all she's playing.
I would have loved to hear her say my favorite line from Fight Club that we talked about a couple weeks ago. So
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say it again because
Mark Wahlberg just seems oblivious to everything that's going on around him. Just he seems constantly surprised by everything. He has no baseline of his approach to any situation. It's just always like just constant forward motion, which is I guess necessary. It's a necessary basic for existing, but you would expect to have more of a reaction in this scenario than he has, which is just next to nothing. Like, oh, I'm captured by apes. I got to get out of here. I'm going to get out of here. Let's go. We're going now. We're moving. We're going to the next thing. Okay, cool. I found my ship. They're going to come save me, so I'm going to leave. Bye, everybody. Oh, wait, you're going to follow me? Okay, let's all go.
ma'am, I gotta go, ma'am.
He's really bad at this. There's like a moment where he's got to give this big rousing speech to rally the humans to fight back against General Thade, Tim Roth's character, as he's about to attack. And it's just the least inspiring that any human being has ever been in a movie.
It would have been like the rally this weekend where everybody left halfway into it. Just I'm gonna let's go home and watch MacGyver something.
What'd this guy say? Like, he's just talking to that one guy over there. What's he want us to just go stand behind the thing? That's where we're just going to stand behind all right, we'll go stand behind the thing.
I guess we'll just, I mean, what do we do now? Okay, we're standing here. Now what? Come on, Marky Mark, pull up your pants.
His outfit makes no sense. When did it get so tattered and beaten? He's like suddenly just in tatters at one point. I'm just like, what the hell? It was fine minutes ago. What happened to his leather jacket?
It's just the ape atmosphere.
It's very stupid. This movie ends very stupid. They're in the middle of this battle, and then Pericles, the chimp, shows up in his spaceship, and the apes think that this is their god character, Simos, and apparently this is all they need to just go, okay, well, we don't have any problem with humans anymore. Suddenly we're all friends. Hey, I know I snapped your dad's back in half, killed Chris Christopherson and by breaking his spine, but hey, we're all buddies now.
It just doesn't. It just doesn't. Nothing is cohesive about this. Everything just falls apart, and then that stupid twist ending that Tim Burton must have had the biggest heart on while he was thinking it up and filming it. He must have been like, this is gonna get him. Yeah, it's like, come on, this is dumb.
Even he doesn't know how he arrived at this ending, and that because he did a commentary for this movie, and he talks about this ending, and he's very proud of this ending as a big twist, but he has absolutely no idea how he arrived at this idea. Mark Wahlberg gets in his ship, and he seemingly, according to what we're seeing on the screen of the timer, it seems to be going backwards. But when he arrives on Earth, he's arrived far into the future, where somehow Thade has apparently in the past escaped from his, they had him essentially taken care of. He was in a cage. He was done for. They were not going to let him out. Apparently, they did let him out eventually, and he took over and became the Abraham Lincoln of apes somehow.
So stupid. Oh my God. God, it's worse than anything in Beneath or Battle.
Wouldn't a simple way to explain this would be to just I mean, I know they were going to, the plans were to explain it in a sequel, I guess. And when you're talking about a series that has, that goes from Beneath the Planet of the Apes to Escape and doesn't bother explaining things, you can kind of do that. And it's kind of campy. It kind of a tribute to the camp of it all. But this movie doesn't have any camp to it to actually create that appeal. So it doesn't, again, it's incongruous. It doesn't make any sense. But you could just take out the thing with the timer that seems to be taking him back in time and have it go forward in time. And yeah, then you can kind of explain why apes have evolved to a point where they're, speaking and enacting, jobs and architecture just like humans would have in 2001. Like, there's at least a minor bit of sense to be made there, I guess. But the way they choose to do it is very, very dumb.
It just doesn't.
Why have it? Also, why Thade? Why have it be Thade? Why not have it be one of the other apes that was the champion? And this isn't a bad, really that bad an outcome. Like, it's just, this is the outcome. Apes, eventually just did evolve, and maybe humanity didn't. And here we are in the future where, apes are what humans are in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Really, it's far more simple. It really could have been far more simple than they made it.
Oh, I mean, you know what? I when I saw that, I was like, okay, I what? And then I was talking about it with a friend who saw it with me, and I was like, what they should have done, and he should have crash landed back on this, like back on Earth in the future, and the Statue of Liberty could have been there again. It would have been more sensical. I just. Ugh.
He crash lands on Earth. He finds the Statue of Liberty blown up, and then a cat and a dog come around a corner, going, "Why is there a human here?"
That would have been fucking hilarious. Walking upright,
Walking upright, Yeah, and it's cats and dogs living together. No. There you go. I fixed your movie, Tim Burton. 2011. They actually get it right. Rise of the Planet of the Apes, starring James Franco and John Lithgow, and of course Andy Serkis in an absolutely incredible motion capture performance. Like, without Andy Serkis, does the art of motion capture even exist? I mean, honestly, that guy is that good. Whether it's Gollum or this, he is so amazing at creating these characters and crafting this amidst all of that technology, amidst all of that stuff that you have to do to create these characters, that he manages to make them so believable and so relatable. It's a testament, obviously, to the technology, but you can't leave out the fact that he is so very, very good as an actor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he is. I just consistently amazing in every motion capture role he does. I mean, he just, from Gollum to this to just
King Kong. He was King Kong in Peter Jackson's King Kong.
The physicality that he brings to Caesar in these movies is it's just something else. It's like you can't really quite even describe it. And this, for the time, completely groundbreaking CGI, but I think with somebody lesser, it wouldn't have worked this well. And I think he, from what I've read, he taught the other actors who were doing mocap, little tricks and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we owe all of like everything from this movie that we're talking about all the way up to the new one to him, whether he was in them or not. So,
And let's not forget the director here either, because he does an amazing job. Rupert Wyatt directed this film, and uh, his willingness to put off, the thing that was always in the thing that was always in our minds, the thing that was all in the trailers, is this big battle in San Francisco, this fight that we're all building up towards. He is willingly putting that off and taking a great deal of time and care to allow James Franco and Andy Serkis and John Lithgow to develop these characters and to make us care about these characters. The plot is that James Franco has created this drug that could perhaps cure Alzheimer's. His father, John Lithgow, has Alzheimer's, so there's a lot of emotional investment in making this work. They're testing it on apes. It turns out that it makes apes super smart, and that's how we end up getting Caesar the ape. The Andy Serkis's character is that he's the child of this ape that had been given this drug. And obviously he comes to develop and eventually will come to speak and become a leader of the apes. But uh, what Rupert Wyatt does so very well is craft these scenes that allow us to spend a little bit of time with these characters, to develop an emotional bond with these characters, so that when it comes down to the time where first he has to give up Caesar to this zoo, and then eventually has to give him up to allow him to become, to let him go and become this leader of the apes. We've got so much emotional investment in that relationship that it matters. It means something to all of us.
100%. I Everybody in this movie is really solid, from the director to all the actors. And I remember seeing the trailer for this, and you see the Golden Gate Bridge overtaken by apes, and completely out of my mind, because just the physicality of baby Caesar, and the interaction with him and
James Franco.
I don't know why. Thank you. I wanted to call him James Woods. I don't know why. Whatever. The interaction and the realism that James Franco plays it with, like he's the dad, and him and John Lithgow are really, really good together too. You really believe their relationship, and he that look that when he figures out that he's cured his father.
Yeah, it's a good moment.
He's just like, oh my God, I did it. And you go there with him. And then when it all starts to fall apart, you catch that too. So,
yeah, it's really terrific. This is a great movie. If there's one flaw, I would say that Frida Pinto kind of gets short shrifted in her character. She doesn't get much development. She gets introduced very quickly. She's very quickly into a relationship with James Franco, and then she's just sort of there and doesn't have as much to do. She's basically just a love interest. You could also say that David Oyelowo as your pseudo villain, I guess, is a little bit weak in terms of characterization. He's just this greedy asshole. There's really not much nuance to that.
He's like the Eric Braeden of this trilogy.
He really is.
Where's your mustache to twirl?
Yeah, but those are minor things, because the movie is so very, very good, and it's a great setup for where we're headed next, which is to of course Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which is going to set up several.
Bothers me. I gotta say, it bothers me because the title of the first one should have been Dawn, and this should have been Rise. Okay, go ahead.
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is set several years after this one. Caesar, of course, is now leading the apes. The humans have seemingly disappeared, which was established in Rise. There was this virus that got loose due to what was happening in that film, and is spread worldwide via one of the characters in Rise. And most of the humanity has disappeared, and we have not seen them in 2 winters, according to one of the ape characters. We do finally see them when Jason Clarke's character shows up, and we get this confrontation between Caesar and the humans, and there's a small human enclave led by Gary Oldman. The humans want to restart their city. They need this dam to do it, and Caesar allows them to come in and try and get it working. And the mistrust that is going on. You've got the character of Koba from the first film, who is now the sort of the villain of this film, an ape who is standing opposite Caesar because he has a true hatred of humanity for very good reasons for what David Oyelowo's character did to him. And that's such a great thing to have a villain who has such a strong justification, even as the character of Kobo is something of he is something underdeveloped in terms of he's just a ball of hate at times. He does have a reason for being that, and when you give a villainous character, a strong reasoning, it does make them more interesting and more understandable. And that definitely works for this movie, is having him as the villain, and this is so much even more complex than Rise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the way that they built on the relationships from the previous movie to really, they show you, they don't have to tell you that Maurice is, Caesar's most trusted, that Koba has let his hatred take over everything to the point where he hates Caesar now because Caesar gives the humans a chance, down to the fact that when you get to the end and Koba and Caesar are fighting, in the back of your head, that Caesar has to win, but there's a few scenes in there where you're like, well, Koba could probably, if he used his hatred a little more, really take him out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really luck that saves him. So
it's incredibly smartly plotted, and and I don't like Jason Clarke as an actor. I think a lot of the time, a lot of his performances are very often quite bad, but he is quite good here. He does a great job of just being sympathetic and compassionate, and being somebody that Caesar can trust. And at the same time, there's this. It is a tenuous agreement. It's a tenuous bond. I just love the complex emotions always at play in every scene. Every scene is fraught with mistrust and a desire to want to trust, the desire to want to even sort of just live in peace at the very least. But it's always kind of tense, and it's always everybody's kind of reaching for a gun at all times. And
yeah.
Only occasionally are they able to listen to the better angels of their nature to keep from killing each other. And that, again, it's so smart in that way. And it's such a complex and beautiful, again, it's a metaphor for our time. Is this movie, Dawn is really the movie that really reflects where we are today in terms of our tenuous relationships with one another.
And Kirk Acevedo, that his trigger happy character, you just realize that he's just scared. He doesn't know, he doesn't have anybody to talk to about it. He doesn't know, what he's supposed to be doing, and how to handle all this stuff. He's lost everybody now. The apes have taken over, and what do I do? And that is the catalyst for some of the stuff that happens. Fear leads to anger, anger leads to that's but it's really that's it's a good kind of parallel to Koba for me, because it's just hatred and misunderstanding that kind of drives the two species apart.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's time to go to war. War for the Planet of the Apes, 2017. Returns, of course, Andy Serkis as Caesar, and introduces a new villain, and an absolutely brilliant performance play by Woody Harrelson as a military man who has kind of gone off the reservation. He and his group are out to kill apes. Unknown to the apes, the simian flu has mutated and is causing humans to lose the ability to speak and essentially devolve into devolve backwards, go backwards, and he's trying to kill anybody who is infected. Meanwhile, he has superiors who are also trying to try and cure this or try and find a cure, and thus they want to stop him from killing people. That conflict is happening all while Caesar is trying to get his apes to this oasis that could be a place where they could stay and be safe and be away from the machinations of humans. Again, this is absolutely fucking brilliant from beginning to end. The special effects only continue to get better and more convincing. The action scenes are exciting. Matt Reeves really proving himself to be just a top-notch action movie director, but he never loses sight of these characters because he's got Andy Serkis delivering this incredibly complicated performance. You've got some wonderfully, observant and actually prescient, plotting going on here. This is pre-COVID, this movie, which makes it that much more fascinating. It's not predictive or anything, but certainly you can see some things that happen in this movie that were like, wow, that's very interesting that this happened before COVID-19.
Yeah.
But
well, and
go ahead.
No.
I was just going to say it's fucking brilliant, and I absolutely love it. And Woody Harrelson's amazing.
Yeah, he really is. I know that the only problem I had with this one is that I thought it suffered a little bit from the fact that it seemed a little contained in the compound. That was my only issue with this movie at all. The CGI continues to get better and better and better, and then you get, the bad ape is the comic relief, and Nova, which I thought was a little on the nose with the, this is how they become Nova. A little on the nose, but still funny. So you get the comic relief, and that's your kind of out of the compound, which I liked. But yeah, it's just like you can feel the hero's journey of Caesar kind of winding down. And as the more he gets whipped and abused by Woody Harrelson, the more you're like, well, this is the end of a trilogy that, they keep saying it's the end of a trilogy. So is he going to kill Caesar? Is that going to cause the uprising? So
it's fantastic. I don't know much else we can say about it. It's just so very, very, very good. I love what Woody Harrelson does with this movie, combining elements of, Colonel Kurtz and elements of just great military characters, good and evil. He's a villain that has a purpose and a point. He does not see himself as a villain. He acts a little bit crazy, but at the same time, he acts with a very strong purpose, and he's incredibly passionate about that purpose, even as, of course, we don't see eye to eye with him. Obviously, yeah. You can't deny that he's a guy who has a reason to believe what he's doing is right.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody's motivations, as far as the quote unquote villains in these movies, are pretty, they're clear, but they're not, how do I say it? Pure. None of them is really like evil for evil's sake. They all have some, something that basically the world ending has fucked them up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they are the way they are.
You can certainly say that of these two movies. The first movie, obviously, with David Oyelowo, again,
yeah,
that one is a little less complex. But the villains in the previous two movies, these two movies, there are just spectacular in terms of being characters that have a purpose and a perspective, a point of view that is very clear and again, driven by passion. It's driven by a belief that they feel they can defend. Like, they could debate this, or they could just go to war. They choose to go to war.
Yeah.
It's so impressive. Yeah. And as for finally, one of these movies, they allow it to end without essentially a twist. I don't think that Caesar dying is a twist. I think it's the natural progression of this character from the first film, from Rise to this. His death is the way to end this trilogy, and ending it without a twist, which is again unusual for this franchise, is a great way to go out.
Yeah. Yeah, I again, it boggles my mind how you in each of these movies, and I'm going to talk about that the next one, you start off just baffled by how they can do all this.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just get immersed in the story. And after the first one of this trilogy, and you're just like, how did they do, how do they make these apes look so real? And each one of them has, um, a personality and a very unique look. And it's not like, not like the old trilogy or the quadrilogy where every gorilla looks exactly the same because it's just a rubber mask that they mass produced. All the chimps look exactly the same because it's just a rubber mask. These have incredible personalities. Maurice is probably one of my favorite characters in all the movies, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the look in his eyes and the fact that you know um Karen, oh God, what is her name? I hold on, I'm going to tell you because I first saw her, and she's actually in as herself. She plays
Karen Konoval.
the Carrie Conoval. Yeah, she was in the Black Christmas remake, and she's just batshit crazy in that. And I was like, why do I know her face when she shows up at the beginning when Caesar is put in the sanctuary? She's the nurse who tells James Franco that you're lucky you're getting a hearing at all.
Mm-hmm.
And her Maurice is like kind of the heart of Caesar
Mm-hmm.
by the end of this movie. And her and Andy Serkis together, their performance at the end when Caesar is dying and he's telling Maurice, pass on basically what I've taught you, is just, it's perfect. And it's like heartbreaking because you've taken the journey with those two characters and they're the last two you see. It's just,
Yeah, and
so good.
it's such a simple thing. Your son who will know who his father was. It's just like it's such a simple
Mm-hmm.
line, but it's beautifully delivered, and it's so meaningful in that moment. Yeah,
Yeah, I can't say enough good things about their performances.
yeah. It is. It's almost impossible for me to determine between Dawn and Rise which one is better
Mm-hmm.
because both of them are just so complex and so thoughtful and so incredibly perfect for this moment in time. It blows my mind that Matt Reeves and Mark Bombeck were able to create these worlds so incredibly well with so much attention to detail on the technical side, but never losing sight of the importance of these characters and what they mean. It's truly it's like it's unlike most modern blockbusters, honestly.
Well, it so you look forward to the next Marvel movie and whatever for different reasons than you look forward to these. Um, these movies you just want the characters. It doesn't matter what they're doing necessarily. You just want those characters back. Um, whereas a lot of like the Marvel and Star Wars blockbusters, you just want to see what's going to happen, and it's not necessarily the characters in some cases. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think they knock it out of the park every time with these new ones.
and there's an element of hopefulness to them as well. There could be cynicism, considering what these stories are truly about. The way we are with the way we choose how we divide ourselves from each other, the way we choose violence so often when it comes to situations that we could just talk through or try and understand each other or help each other. We choose the uglier path. these movies end on such hopeful notes,
Mm-hmm.
especially this one. I just, yeah, it's so good, and these filmmakers just don't get enough credit for doing what they do. The set pieces are spectacular, the special effects are spectacular, but these characters. I mean, we're talking about two movies that barely have movie stars. I mean, Woody Harrelson is unquestionably a movie star, but
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, none of the Planet of the Apes, neither of these two Planet of the Apes movies rely on movie stars. They don't rely on people's faces who you recognize. Uh,
Right.
they're relying on these apes, and that's always been something that's kind of been hard for me, honestly, because I do like seeing actors that I recognize, and yeah, every time I go to one of these movies, I kind of worry for some reason that this very nebulous, indeterminate concern that I have that I'm not going to see a face that I recognize, and each time I find myself, so much falling for these characters and caring about these characters that it ends up not mattering.
Yeah, I don't I this I guess this sounds bad, but I could care less who the humans are in these movies. That's the point. Like I hate Jason Clarke too. I he ruins everything he's in for me, except he was fine in the last one
Mm-hmm.
in Dawn. He was fine. It didn't take away from me. He was a little more understated than he normally is.
Yeah.
He's not trying to like
He's not
uh
slobbering and frothing at the mouth.
yeah. Well, like the Pet Cemetery remake.
Oh God, what a piece of shit.
I What a piece of shit. But if they had had somebody else playing Lewis and had they had not given away the twist in the trailer, might have kind of enjoyed it. But he's just not. He's just kind of bleh.
Yeah.
So
It may be one of the great achievements of this franchise, making Jason Clarke into a good actor. Uh, try watching
acceptable.
that Terminator movie he's in. Try it.
Oh
You'll be you can't do it. You can't do it. You
God,
can't watch that and
absolute
say I'm
fucking
wrong
worst.
about Jason Clarke. Uh, I'm sure he's a fine human being. I'm sure. Just I don't like
No,
any
he's a
movie that
prick.
he's in.
I'm just kidding.
All right, we've reached the main event, Jeff. We're talking about Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, the newest of the franchise, directed by Wes Ball. And I mean, when I saw his name, my heart dropped because Wes Ball has directed some of the worst movies I've seen. Specifically, talking well, he's directed 4 movies, 3 of which are Maze Runner movies, and the Maze Runner is an awful franchise, including the last of the Maze Runner movies, which is one of I named it the worst movie of the year it came out, 2018. Maze Runner: The Death Cure was the worst movie released that year, no
You
doubt
want to hear
about
something
it.
sad?
Huh?
They're already rebooting that.
Ugh. Just leave it alone. It's just awful. It was unwatchable. So when I saw his name, my heart dropped because I thought, oh God, why are they letting this guy direct this? So it really set a very, very low bar that this movie sails over big time because this movie's incredible. Once again, we've got this incredible technology taking actors you don't know and turning them into apes and creating a story that is resonant, it is powerful, it is emotional, and it is just incredibly well accomplished. We're set some 300 years in the future after Caesar's death. We've got various different clans of apes all around. Not all of which are working together. Some, there's divisions, but mostly there's this one clan that is just living, just doing their thing. They've just developed this
Mhm.
society that is centered upon raising eagles and having those eagles go and catch fish. And the bond between eagle and ape is it's very well done. Noah is the young, headstrong young kid who is the son of an elder who he goes out to try and get his own eagle, and they end up uncovering a human being who is following them. They don't know it yet, but they will come to know it once the people who are searching for the humans come searching for them. This other clan comes for them, burns down their camp, and just destroys and kills people and takes a bunch of people hostage. This, of course, is the clan headed up by Proximus Caesar, the ape who believes that he is essentially the new version of Caesar. He is corrupted, much like what right wing conservatives do to the Bible. He's kind of corrupted what Caesar taught, and is using it as his sort of way of maintaining power over his clan of apes and the various people that they've enslaved, to try and break into this giant mine that may or may not, or this giant, whatever it is, I'm not sure what you call it, this giant thing that has human stuff inside of it that may be the key to fighting wars in the future. And indeed it is. It's a vault. Freya Allen plays May/Nova, who is the human that's been following them. She's been out to try and get to this vault because she actually knows what's inside and what can be done with it. And just absolutely awesome movie. What a fantastic film. I'm just blown away again. The way that they portray, the teachings of Caesar and apes don't kill apes, and the various ways that that has been corrupted by the Proximus character. That character, played by Kevin Durand, is a fascinating creation. It is so pointedly aimed at a specific type of person who takes, like I said, takes the Bible and tries to use that as justification to be awful, to be essentially a dictator who's in charge of everything. And I don't know if it's intentional. I can't say it's intentional. It's just me projecting. He is wearing orange. I'm just saying. I am just saying. There's one particular politician who is known for being orange. I'm just saying. I know that pisses people off when we mention this, but I'm just saying it can't be a coincidence. Is all I'm saying. Can't be a coincidence. What'd you think, Jeff? I loved this movie.
Like I said, these movies just get better and better. And this one in particular, the first 20 minutes, I just sat and I was like, I felt like I was missing stuff. I know I wasn't, but I felt like I was missing stuff because I was just like, the CGI is so amazing. Like I just kept saying, I'm like, I can't believe they did this. I can't believe it. So, yeah, everything about this was it just got better and better as the movie went on. The only thing that I wish there had been more of Proximus Caesar. Maybe some scenes at the beginning, just to kind of establish him, because he was such a good character that I don't think we got enough of him. So that was my only real quibble.
Right. He's just sort of there and evil, and he will come to understand the source of what he's doing. We'll come to understand the wool that he's pulled over the eyes of the apes that he controls, and how he does it, and his sort of dictatorship that he's got going on. We will come to understand that, but yeah, I could see where you could kind of deepen that character a little bit and kind of show a little bit more of him at the start to underline why, why he's doing what he's doing. Because comparatively to like Koba or to Woody Harrelson, he's not as well written.
Yeah. Yeah. I really would have liked more of him. I think that Kevin Durand just really, he just wants to chew every bit of scenery that there is, and he's really good at it.
But there again, I'm going to say this: the power of his public speaking and the way that he speaks to his apes, and the way he uses catchphrases, and just the cadences that he uses. Again, this is incredibly pointed. If you don't want to see, again, it's so skillfully done. And again, all credit to Wes Ball. Fantastic job. I don't feel bad about saying bad things about your Maze Runner movies because they're terrible, but this is a terrific piece of direction. And what he does with that layering in of the metaphor here, and you could watch this movie as just an action movie, as just an ape action movie. But if you want to look deeper, and if you want to see the deeper themes and elements and metaphors and what I think are relatively obvious references to someone in particular, I think you can see that too. So this is a movie that cuts this very I mean, it stands right there on that razor's edge where anybody
Yeah,
can watch this and enjoy it, but you can find a deeper level if you want to.
I agree completely. Can we talk really quick about Freya Allen
Yeah, please.
and how you you think she's just another one of the,
The series of novas.
damsels into yeah, a series of novas. Um and the fact that she turns out to be kind of a, a secret agent, and you never quite know how to feel about her.
Mm-hmm.
Is she a good guy? Is she a bad guy? Is she a good guy? Is she a bad guy? Um and then towards the end when she blows the dam, you're like, oh shit, she's gonna kill them all. And she's just, it's just a means to an end. And I was really, when she said there's something in there that will allow humans to speak to each other again,
Mm-hmm.
and you're led to believe that it's, there's a book in there that is going to teach them how to actually form words. No, it's like let them speak to each other across the planet again.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really cool. It was very surprising to me.
She's again another complicated character who has a very strong motivation that can that you will align with with Noah and what he's trying to do, but also kind of play into the whole constant suspicion that both sides have of each other.
Mm-hmm.
That scene at the very end where you can see that she's holding a gun, but she's also there to meet him and have this important conversation about living in peace. I thought that was such a great piece of work, a great piece of direction to establish her in that scene first, and then to have Noah come up, and it's such a great piece of direction. It's so impressive. What Wes Ball does such great things with his camera work here that I think is very underrated. From the opening action scene where they're trying to get the eagle eggs to this final moment, where it's just this subtle piece of visual filmmaking that tells you the piece of information that you need without saying it more than it needs to say.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, there's an economy to the way he tells this story. Um, it did not seem like it was 2 hours long.
No, not at all.
It just went so quickly, and you're on from one thing to the next, and you don't notice that you're almost to the end. The only reason I realized that like an hour had gone by is my Fitbit beeped at me and said, "Get some steps." I was like, "No, I'm not going to get some steps." So
Yeah, what a great movie. I really, I can't even begin to try and rank this franchise at the end of this franchise. I mean, it's so much more than what it was. I mean, as much as I admire the original Planet of the Apes, this franchise, what they've done with it, with Wes Ball and Matt Reeves and Rupert Wyatt, it's absolutely incredible what they've created. They've made probably the best modern blockbuster franchise.
yeah, I completely agree with you. I'm so glad that they made another one. I
And
mean, honestly, like
make probably going to
I
make
thought,
more.
oh, absolutely. Um, I think that had they not, then War was a great fitting end.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're going to do another trilogy or just some sequels, either way, I'm fine with.
I have no idea who Owen Teague is. No idea. I don't think I've ever
Um,
seen this man's face. I have no clue who he is, but he was so great in this movie. Just his eyes are very expressive. He's great, physically. He's got backed up by Peter Macon as Raka for a few scenes, which is one of the most heart wrenching moments of this entire franchise. Is losing Raka when we do. Hopefully, that's not permanent. They can change that. I hope. Uh,
well, I was really hoping that he was going to come back at the
yeah.
end, to
Mm-hmm.
Owen Teague was in It and It Chapter 2, You Hurt My Feelings, the Stand remake. Um, he's been in a few things you've probably seen, but he's not
I couldn't pick him out of a lineup.
Yeah, he's not like, he doesn't set the screen on fire
Hmm.
necessarily. You saw Eileen, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
He played Randy in that.
I didn't care for that movie, so
Yeah.
it probably doesn't.
Oh,
Yeah, like I
but I
said,
just
I
I thought
couldn't I couldn't pick the guy out of a lineup, but he's fantastic in this movie, and him and Peter
yeah.
Macon and Fry Allen, they're all fantastic in this movie. And then you've got a great turn by William H Macy as the only other human essentially in the movie. There are other humans you'll see briefly, but there are only two humans that you see throughout the movie, and I love what they did with William H Macy as that character. He's essentially
Yeah.
the person who is giving the lore of humanity to. He's betrayed humanity to work with Proximus, and
Hmm.
it's such a great idea for a character, and it's incredibly well executed.
Yeah, no, I had no idea he was even in it. It was a complete surprise.
That's great.
So,
That's a great way to find that.
like, wait, is that William H. Macy? Shit.
Yeah, it's fantastic. What a great franchise. I'm not even going to bother. I don't want to ask about ranking it because it's too hard to try and choose between those last three movies are so great.
Yeah.
Rise, I would say, is probably of the last four is probably the lowest one, but only because. But that's not to take anything away. It's such a necessary movie for starting these four movies. That you I don't want to diminish it in any way, but compared to the last three that have been just so amazing. It's hard. That's such a high bar.
Yeah. If I, to me, the two, the two eras, the 60s and 70s, and these are completely incomparable. I like them both for
Hmm.
separate reasons.
Yeah, very different
Um,
reasons.
more camp for the older ones, whereas, here it's a human story told with CGI apes that really gets to the heart of what people are about,
Yeah,
and it's hard to put that into words, I guess, but
yeah. It's really probably it's that spoonful of sugar that makes the medicine go down. The fact
yeah.
that you can somewhat divorce yourself from it by seeing apes, but if you're paying attention, you're going to realize what this is really about, and it's about us. It's about humanity and our very very stupid choices that we make to divide ourselves.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff. Next week we've got a bunch of movies coming out. The one I'm most looking forward to is I saw the TV Glow. Jane Schoenbrunn is an incredible director. If you folks haven't seen, we're all going to the World's Fair. It's a must see. It's just absolutely an incredible film. We'll also have If and The Strangers prequel that is coming out, which Bob might join us for. We don't know. Maybe.
I I really, 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 really hope that the trailer, everything happens in the first half hour of the trailer for The Strangers, because I'm not feeling it.
I've disliked all the Strangers movies, so I'm not really looking forward to this at all.
The first one was like absolutely terrifying to me after I got broken into when I lived in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the the second one I did not like it the first time I saw it, but I really like on subsequent viewings, I really got what they were going for and really liked it.
Mm.
Um, this one just looks like exactly the same as the first one. I'm like, is this a sequel or a prequel or a reboot? Because
As I
I
understand
don't
it, it's
know.
a prequel, but we'll see.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be
And
important
now,
that one of the girls takes her mask off and we see her face. I don't know why that would be important, but okay, sure.
yeah, I don't know.
All right, so that's next week. Jeff, thank you.
Thanks a lot. Have a good night and come see me this weekend.